a lifeless body. The other day I had an iron lamp placed beside my household gods. I heard a noise at the door. On hastening down, my lamp carried off. It reflected that the culprit was in no very strange case. Tomorrow, my friend, I said, you will find an earthenware lamp, for a man can only lose what he has. A wretched human creature with this miserable flesh of mine, miserable indeed, but you have something better than that paltry flesh of yours. Why then cling to the one and neglect the other? Thou art but a poor soul laden with a lifeless body. The other day I had an iron lamp placed beside my household gods. I heard a noise at the door. On hastening down, found my lamp carried off. It reflected that the culprit was in no very strange case. Tomorrow, my friend, I said, you will find an earthenware lamp, for a man can only lose what he has. That is the sayings of Epictetus, the Enchiridion, the golden sayings. It's part 4 by candidate John. Body, giving it food and drink and rest and purification, aye, and for its sake forced to be subservient to this man and that. Are not these things indifferent and nothing to us? Is it not true that death is no evil? Are we not in a manner kinsmen of the gods? Have we not come from them? Let us depart thither whence we came. Let us be freed from these chains that confine and press us down. Here are thieves and robbers and tribunals, and they that are called tyrants, who deem that they have after a fashion power over us because of the miserable body it pertains to it. Let us show them that they have power over none. The teacher is a lifeless body, and you are lifeless bodies yourselves. When you have had enough to eat today, you sit down and weep about tomorrow's food. Slave, if you have it, well and good. If not, you will depart. The door is open, why lament? What further room is there for tears? What further occasion for flattery? Why should one envy another? Why should you stand in awe of them that have much or are placed in power, especially if they be also strong and passionate? Why? What should they do to us? What they can do, we will not regard. What does concern us that they cannot do? Who then shall still rule one that is thus minded? Crushed or depressed thereby, but like a good king and father, he has given us this without let or hindrance, placed wholly at our own disposition, without reserving to himself any power of impediment or restraint. Though possessing all these things free and all your own, you do not use them. You do not perceive what it is you have received, nor whence it comes, but sit moaning, groaning, some of you blind to the giver, making no acknowledgement to your benefactor. Others basely giving themselves to complaints and accusations against God. Yet what faculties and powers you possess for attaining courage and greatness of heart, I can easily show you. Which you have for upbraiding and accusation, it is for you to show me. Blind to the giver, making no acknowledgement to your benefactor. Others basely giving themselves to complaints and accusations against God. Yet what faculties and powers you possess for attaining courage and greatness of heart, I can easily show you. Which you have for upbraiding and accusation, it is for you to show me. This is Candidate John reading Epictetus, the Golden Sayings, otherwise known as the Enchiridion. This is the school of Stoic philosophy. Philosophy and wisdom. Hope you're enjoying. Okay, this is part 9. You need blame no man, accuse no man. All things will be at once according to your mind and according to the mind of God. Petrification is of 2 sorts. There is petrification of the understanding and also of the sense of shame. This happens when a man obstinately refuses to acknowledge plain truths and persists in maintaining what is self-contradictory. Most of us dread mortification of the body and would spare no pains to escape anything of that kind. But of mortification of the soul we are utterly heedless. With regard indeed to the soul, if a man is in such a state as to be incapable of following or understanding anything, I grant you, we do think him in a bad way. But mortification of the sense of shame and modesty, we go so far as to dub strength of mind. This is the course. There is petrification of the understanding and also of the sense of shame. This happens when a man obstinately refuses to acknowledge plain truths and persists in maintaining what is self-contradictory. Most of us dread mortification of the body and would spare no pains to escape anything of that kind. But of mortification of the soul we are utterly heedless. With regard indeed to the soul, if a man is in such a state as to be incapable of following or understanding anything, I grant you, we do think him in a bad way. But mortification of the sense of shame and modesty, we go so far as to dub strength of mind. This is the golden sayings of Epictetus, read to you by Candidate John. That was part 9. We're just about completed. If you're enjoying this wisdom, how much better a prophet I am than you. What then? Do I say man is not made for an active life? Far from it. But there is a great difference between other men's occupations and ours. A glance at theirs will make it clear to you. All day long they do nothing but calculate, contrive, consult how to wring the profit out of foodstuffs, farm plots, and the like. Whereas I entreat you to learn what the administration of the world is. It will place a being endowed with reason, holds therein, to consider what you are yourself, and wherein your good and evil consists. I'd like to be beside him to remind him of what he said when passing this way, and to add, how much better a prophet I am than you. What then? Do I say man is not made for an active life? Far from it. But there is a great difference between other men's occupations and ours. A glance at theirs will make it clear to you. All day long they do nothing but calculate, contrive, consult how to wring the profit out of foodstuffs, farm plots, and the like. Whereas I entreat you to learn what the administration of the world is. It will place a being endowed with reason, holds therein, to consider what you are yourself, and wherein your good and evil consists.
I didn't say Gary's from sucked.
Why is nobody talking about this? This mask literally put everything out of proportion.
If you have assumed a character beyond your strength, you have played a poor part in that, and neglected one that is within your powers. Fellow, you have come to blows at home with a slave. You have turned the household upside down and thrown the neighborhood into confusion. Do you come to me then with airs of assumed modesty?
Hit that like button. Subscribe right now. Subscribe to this effing YouTube channel now. What are you waiting for? Hit the subscribe button now.
You sit brooding on nothing but how your father or your brother are disposed towards you. What are they saying about me here? About me there? At this moment, they imagine I am making progress and saying he will return perfectly omniscient. I wish I could become omniscient before I return, but that would be very troublesome. No one sends me anything. The baths at Nicopolis are dirty. Things are wretched at home and wretched here. Then they say nobody is any the better for the school. Who comes to the school with a sincere wish to learn, to submit his principles to correction and himself to treatment? Who, to gain a sense of his wants? Why, then be surprised if you carry home from the school exactly what you bring into it. Epictetus, I have often come desiring to hear you speak, and you have never given me any answer. Now, if possible, I entreat you, say something to me. Is there, do you think, replied Epictetus, an art of speaking as of other things, if it is to be done skillfully and with profit to the hearer? Yes. And are all profited by what they hear, or only some among them? So that it seems there is an art of hearing as well as of speaking. To make a statue needs skill, to view a statue aright needs skill also, admitted. And I think all will allow that one who proposes to hear philosophers speak needs a considerable training in hearing. Is that not so? Then tell me, on what subject are you able to hear me? Why on good and evil? The good and evil of what? A horse, an ox? No, of a man. Do we know then what man is? What his nature is? That is the idea we have of him. And are our ears practiced in any degree on the subject? Nay, do you understand what nature is? Can you follow me in any degree when I say that I shall have to use demonstration? Do you understand what demonstration is? What true or false is? Must I drive you to philosophy? Show me what good I am to do by discoursing with you. Rouse my desire to do so. The sight of the pasture it loves stirs in the sheep the desire to feed. Show a stone or a bit of bread and it remains unmoved. Thus we must also have certain natural desires, and one that moves us to speak when we find a listener that is worth his salt, one that himself stirs the spirit. But if he sits by like a stone or a tuft of grass, how can he rouse a man's desire? Then you will say nothing to me. I can only tell you this, that one who knows not who he is and to what end he was born, what kind of world this is.
What's that?
It's a new electric blanket, and it's going to help us save on heating costs this winter.
I hope you...
Would I fain be found employed so that I may say to God, have I in aught transgressed thy commands? Have I in aught perverted the faculties, the senses, the natural principles that thou didst give me? Have I ever blamed thee or found fault with thine administration? When it was thy good pleasure I fell sick, and so did other men, but my will consented. Because it was thy pleasure I became poor, but my heart rejoiced. No power in the state was mine, because thou wouldst not such power I never desired. Hast thou ever seen me of more doleful countenance? On that account have I not ever drawn nigh unto thee with cherished, cheerful look, waiting upon thy commands, attentive to thy signals. Wilt thou that I now depart from the great assembly of men? I go, I give thee all thanks that thou hast deemed me worthy to take part with thee in this assembly, to behold thy works, to comprehend this thine administration. Such I were the subject of my thoughts, my pen, my study, when death overtakes me. Seemeth it nothing to you, never to accuse, never to blame either good or man, to wherever the same countenance in going forth as in coming in? This was the secret of Socrates, yet he never said that he knew or taught anything. Who amongst you makes this his aim? Were it indeed so, he would gladly endure sickness, hunger, aye, death itself. How are we constituted by nature to be free, to be noble, to be modest? For what other living thing is capable of blushing or of feeling the impression of shame, and to subordinate pleasure to the ends for which nature designed us? As a handmaid and a minister, in order to call forth our activity, in order to keep us constant to the path prescribed by nature. The husband deals with land, physicians and trainers with the body, the wise man with his own mind. Which of us does not admire what Lycurgus the Spartan did? The young citizen had put out his eye and had been handed over to him by the people to be punished at his own discretion. Lycurgus from all vengeance, but on the contrary instructed him, and made a good man of him, producing him in the public, in the theatre. He said to the astonished Spartans, I received this young man at your hands for the violence and wanton insolence. I restore him to you in his right mind and fit to serve his country. A money changer may not reject Caesar's coin, nor may the seller of herbs, but must, when once the coin is shown, deliver what is sold for it, whether he will or no. So is it also with the soul. Once the good appears, it attracts towards itself, evil repels. But a clear and certain impression of the good the soul will never reject. Men do
Please stop sending me stuff.
this aims every impulse alike of man and God. Just what common censors Epictetus replied, as that may be called a common ear which distinguishes only sounds, while that which distinguishes musical notes is not common, but produced by training. So there are certain things which men not entirely perverted see by the natural principle common to all. Such a constitution of the mind is called common sense. Canst thou judge man? Then make us imitators of thyself, as Socrates did. Do this, do not do that, else will I cast thee into prison. This is not governing men like reasonable creatures, sacred as God hath ordained, so do, else thou wilt suffer chastisement and loss. Askest thou what lost? None other than this. To have left undone what thou shouldst have done, to have lost the faithfulness, the reverence, the modesty that is in thee. Greater loss than this seek not to find. His son is dead. What has happened? His son is dead. Nothing more, nothing. His ship is lost. What has happened? His ship is lost. He has been hailed to prison. What has happened? He has been hailed to prison. Without any of these things are misfortunes to him. He's an addition with everyone makes of his own, but you say God is unjust in this way. Why? For having given thee endurance and greatness of soul, for having made such things to know evils, for placing happiness within thy reach even when enduring them, for opening unto thee a door when things make not for thy good. Depart, my friend, and find no fault. You are sailing to Rome, and you tell me to obtain the post of governor of Gnosis. You are not content to stay at home with the honors you had before. You want something on a larger scale and more conspicuous. But when did you ever undertake a voyage for the purpose of reviewing your own principles and getting rid of any of them that proved unsound? Whom did you ever visit for that object? What time did you ever set yourself for that? What age run over the times of your life by yourself if you are ashamed before me? Did you examine your principles when a boy? Did you not do everything just as you do now? Or when you were a stripling, attending the school of oratory and practicing the art yourself, what did you ever imagine you lacked? And when you were a young man, entered upon life and were pleading
Unite the clans!
who any longer seemed equal to you. And at what moment would you have endured another examining your principles and proving that they were unsound? What then am I to say to you, help me in this matter? You cry, for that I have no rule, and neither did you, if that was your object, come to me as a philosopher, but as you might have gone to an herb saddler or a cobbler. What do philosophers have rules for then? Why, that whatever may betide, our ruling faculty may be as nature would have it, and so remain. Think you this a small matter? Not so, but the greatest thing there is. Well, does it need but a short time? Can it be grasped by a passer-by? Grasp it if you can. Then you will say, yes, I met Epictetus. I, just as you might a statue or a monument, you saw me. That is all. But a man who meets a man is one who learns the other's mind and lets him see his in return. Then my mind, show me yours, and then go and say that you met me. Let us try each other. If I have any wrong principle, rid me of it. If you have, out with it. That is what meeting a philosopher means. Not so. You think this is only a flying visit. While we are hiring the ship, we can see Epictetus too. Let us see what he has to say, then on leaving you cry out on Epictetus for a worthless fellow, provincial and barbarous of speech. What else indeed did you come to judge of? Whether you will or not, you are poorer than I. What then do I lack? What you have not, constancy of mind, such as nature would have it be. Tranquility. Patron or no patron, what care I? But you do care. I am richer than you. I am not racked with anxiety as to what Caesar may think of me. Flatter none on that account. This is what I have instead of vessels of gold and silver. Your vessels may be of gold, but your reason, your principles, your accepted views, your inclinations, your desires are of earthenware. To you all you have seems small to me, all I have seems great. Your desire is insatiable, mine is satisfied. See children thrusting their hands into a narrow-necked jar and striving to pull out the nuts and figs it contains. They fill the land, they cannot pull it out again, and then they fall to tears, let go a few of them. And then you can draw out the rest, you too, let your desire go. Covet not many things, and you will obtain. Pittacus, wronged by one whom he had it in his power to punish, let him go free, saying, forgiveness is better than revenge. The one shows native gentleness, the other savagery. My brother ought not to have treated me thus, true, but he must see to that. However he may treat me, I must deal rightly by him. This is what lies with me, none can hinder. Nevertheless, a man should also be prepared to be sufficient unto himself, to dwell with himself alone, even as God dwells with himself alone, shares his repose with none, and considers the nature of his own administration, intent upon such thoughts as are meet unto himself. So should we also be able to converse with ourselves, to need none else beside, to sigh for no distraction. Thoughts upon the divine administration, and how we stand related to all us, to observe how human accidents touched us of old, and how they touch us now, what things they are that still have power to hurt us, and how they may be cured or removed to perfect what needs perfecting, as reason would direct. If a man has frequent intercourse with others, either in the way of conversation, entertainment, or simple familiarity, he must either become like them or change them to his own fashion. A live coal placed next to a dead one will either kindle that or be quenched by it. Such being the risk, it is well to be cautious in admitting intimacies of this sort, remembering that one cannot rub shoulders with a soot-stained man without sharing the soot oneself. What will you do, supposing the talk turns on gladiators, or horses, or prize fighters, or what is worse, on persons, condemning this and that, approving the others? Or suppose a man sneers or jeers or shows a malignant temper. Has any among us the skill of the lute player, who knows at the first touch which strings are out of tune and sets the instrument right? Has any of you such a power as Socrates had in all his intercourse with men, of winning them over to his own convictions? Nay, but you must needs be swayed hither and thither by the uninstructed. How comes it then that they prove so much stronger than you? Because they speak from the fullness of the heart. Their low, corrupt views are their real convictions, whereas your fine sentiments are but from the lips outwards. That is why they are so nerveless and dead. It turns one's stomach to listen to your exaltations and hear of your miserable virtue, that you prate up and down. Thus it is that the vulgar prove too strong for you. Everywhere strength, everywhere victory waits your conviction. In general, any methods of discipline applied to the body which tend to modify its desires or repulsions are good for ascetic ends, but if done for display, they betray at once a man who keeps an eye on an outward show, who has an ulterior purpose and is looking for spectators to shout, "Oh, what a great man!" This is why Apollonius so well said, if you are bent upon a little private discipline, wait till you are choking with heat some day, then take a mouthful of cold water and spit it out again and tell no man. Study how to give as one that is sick, that thou mayest hereafter give as one that is whole. Fast, drink water, only abstain altogether from desire, that thou mayest hereafter conform thy desire to reason. Thou wouldst do good unto men, then show them by thy own example what kind of men philosophy can make, and cease from foolish trifling. Eating, do good to them that eat with thee. Drinking, to them that drink with thee. Yield unto all, give way, and bear with them. Thus shalt thou do them good, but vent not upon them thine own evil humor. Even as bad actors cannot sing alone, but only in chorus, so some cannot walk alone. Man, if thou art aught, strive to walk alone, and hold converse with thyself, instead of skulking in the chorus. At length think, look around thee, bestir thyself, that thou mayest know thou art. You would fain be victor at the Olympic Games, you say. Yes, but weigh the conditions, weigh the consequences then, and then only lay to your hand. If it be for your profit, you must live by rules, submit to diet, abstain from dainty meats, exercise your body perforce at stated hours. In heat or in cold, drink no cold water, nor it may be wine. In a word, you must surrender yourself wholly to your trainer, as though to a physician. Then in the hour of contest, you will have to delve the ground. It may chance dislocate an arm, sprain an ankle, go down abundance of yellow sand, be scourged with the whip, and with all the times lose the victory, count the cost, and then if your desire still holds, try the wrestler's life. Else let me tell you that you will be behaving like a pack of children playing now with wrestlers, now with gladiators, presently falling to trumpeting and onto stage playing. The fancy takes them for what they have seen. And you are even the same, wrestler, gladiator, philosopher, orator, all by turns, and none of them with your whole soul. Like an ape, you mimic what you see, to one thing constant, never. The thing that is familiar charms no more. This is because you never undertook aught with due consideration, nor after strictly testing and viewing it from every side. No, your choice was thoughtless. The glow of your desire had waxed cold. Friend, bethink you first what it is that you religiously focus on. What your own nature is able to bear.
They don't have,
Be a wrestler.
you can't fuck around with them.
Consider your shoulders, your thighs, your loins. Not all men are formed to the same end. Think you to be a philosopher while acting as you do? Think you can go on thus eating, thus drinking, giving way in like manner to wrath and to displeasure? Nay, you must watch, you must labor, overcome certain desires. Quit your familiar friends, submit to be despised by your slave, to be held in derision by them that meet you, to take the lower place in all things, in office and positions of authority in courts of law. Weigh these things fully, and then if you will lay to your hand, if as the price of these things you would gain freedom, tranquility, and passionless serenity. He that hath no musical instruction is a child in music. He that hath no letters is a child in learning. He that is untaught is a child in life. Can any profit be derived from these men? Aye, from all. What, even from a reveler? Why, tell me what profit a wrestler gains from him who exercises him beforehand. The very greatest, he trains me in the practice of endurance, of controlling my temper, gentle ways, you deny it. What, the man who lays hold of my neck and disciplines loins and shoulders does me good, while he that trains me to keep my temper does me none? This is what it means that knowing how to gain advantage from men is my neighbor bad. Bad to himself, but good to me. He brings my good temper, my gentleness into play. Is my father bad? Bad to himself, but good to me. This is the rod of Hermes. Touch what you will with it, they say, and it becomes gold. Nay, but bring what you will, and I will transmute it into good. Bring sickness, bring death, bring poverty, and reproach, bring trial for life. All these things through the rod of Hermes shall be turned to profit. Till then, these sound opinions have taken firm root in you, and you have gained a measure of strength for your security. I counsel you to be cautious in associating with the uninstructed, else whatever impressions you receive upon the tablets of your mind in the school will day by day melt and disappear. Waxen sun, withdraw then somewhere far from the sun while you have these waxen sentiments. We must approach this matter in a different way. It is great and mystical. It is no common thing, nor given to every man. Wisdom alone, it may be, will not suffice for the care of youth. Man needs also a certain measure of readiness and aptitude for the office, aye, and certain bodily qualities. And above all, to be counseled of God himself to undertake this post, even as he counseled Socrates to fill the post of one who confutes error, signing to Diogenes the royal office of high reproof, and to Zeno that of positive instruction. Whereas you would fain set up for a physician provided with nothing but drugs, where and how they should be applied you neither know nor care. If what charms you is nothing but abstract principles, sit down and turn them over quietly in your mind, but never dub yourself a philosopher, nor suffer others to call you so. Rather say, he is in error, for my desires, my impulses are altered. I have given my adhesion to what I did before, nor has my mode of dealing with the things of sense undergone any change. When a friend inclined to cynic views asked Epictetus what sort of person a true cynic should be, requesting a general sketch of the system, he answered, we will consider that at leisure. At present I content myself with saying this much. If a man put his hands to so weighty a matter without God, the wrath of God abides upon him. That which he covets, but bring upon him public shame, and even on finding himself in a well-ordered house, does a man step forward and say to himself, I must be master here. Else the lord of that house takes notice of it, and seeing him insolently giving orders, drags him forth and chastises him. So it is also in this great city of the world. Here also is there a lord of the house who orders all things. Thou art the sun. In thine orbit thou hast power to make the year and the seasons, to bid the fruits and the earth grow and increase, the winds arise and fall. Thou canst into measure cherish with thy warmth the frames of men. Go make thy circuit, and thus minister unto all, from the greatest to the least. Thou canst lead a host against Troy, be Agamemnon. Thou canst meet Hector in single combat, be Achilles. But had Thersites stepped forward and claimed the chief command, he had been met with a refusal, or obtained it only to his own shame and confusion of face before a cloud of witnesses. Others may fence themselves with walls and houses when they do such deeds as these and wrap themselves in darkness. They have many a device to hide themselves. Another may shut his door and station one before his chamber to say, if any comes, he has gone forth, he is not at leisure. But the true cynic will have none of these things. Instead of them, he must wrap himself up in modesty, else he will bring about himself to shame and naked under the open sky. That is his house, that is his door, that is the slave that guards his chamber, that is his darkness. Death? Let it come when it will, but whether it smite but a part or the whole fly, you tell me fly. But whither shall I fly? Can any man cast me beyond the limits of the world? It may not be, and whithersoever I go, there shall I still find sun, moon, and stars. There shall I find dreams and omens and converse with the gods.
Hey guys, I just found something cool that helps me earn a bit of extra cash and declutter my space. Watch this. So this app is Carrot, where you...
The way of Shuangzi. Greetings from Shuangzi. The useless tree. Huizu said to Chuang, I have a big tree, the kind they call a stink tree. The trunk is so distorted, so full of knots, no one can get a straight plank out of it. The branches are so crooked you cannot cut them up in any way that makes sense. There it stands beside the road, no carpenter will even look at it. Such is your teaching, big and useless. Shuangzi replied, have you ever watched the wild cat crouching, watching his prey? This way it leaps and that way, high and low, and at last lands in the trap. But have you seen the yak? Great as a thundercloud he stands in his might. Big? Sure, he can't catch mice. So for your big tree no use? Then plant in the wasteland at emptiness. Walk idly around, rest under its shadow. No axe or bill prepares its end. No one will ever cut it down. Useless? You should worry. I had salesmen and a capable ruler. A man of Sung did business in silk ceremonial hats. He traveled with a load of hats to the wild men of the south. The wild men had shaved heads, tattooed bodies. What did they want with silk ceremonial hats? Yao had wisely governed all China. He had brought the entire world to a state of rest, and after he went to visit the four perfect ones in the distant mountains of Ku-Shi. When he came back across the border into his own city, he lost gaze, saw no throne. The breath of nature. When great nature sighs, we hear the winds. When noiseless in themselves, awaken voices from other beings, blowing on them. From every opening, loud voices sound. Have you not heard this rush of tones? There stands the overhanging wood on the steep mountain, old trees with holes and cracks, like snouts, mouths, and ears, like beam sockets, like goblets, grooves in the wood, hollows full of water. You hear mooing and roaring, whistling, shouts of command, grumblings, deep drones, sad flutes. One call awakens another in dialogue. Gentle winds sing timidly. Strong ones blast on without restraint. Then the wind dies down, the openings empty out their last sound. Have you not observed how all them trembles and subsides? You replied, I understand. The music of earth sings through 1,000 holes. The music of man is made on flutes and instruments. What makes the music of heaven? Master Kai said, something is blowing in 1,000 different holes. Some power stands behind all this and makes the sounds die down. What is this power? Great knowledge sees all in one. Small knowledge breaks down into the many. When the body sleeps, the soul is enfolded in one. When the body wakes, the openings begin to function. They resound with every encounter, with all the very business of life, the strivings of the heart. Men unlocked, perplexed, lost in doubt. Little fears eat away the peace of heart. Great fears swallow them whole. Arrows shot at a target, hit and miss, right and wrong. That is what men call judgment, decision. Their pronouncements are as final as treaties between emperors. Oh, they make their point. Yet their arguments fall faster and feebler than dead leaves in autumn and winter. The talks flows out like piss, never to be recovered. They stand at last blocked, bound, and gagged. Chucked up like old drain pipes, the mind fails, it shall not see light again. Pleasure and rage, sadness and joy, hopes and regrets, change and stability, weakness and decision, impatience and sloth, all are sounds from the same flute, all mushrooms from the same wet mold. Day and night follow one another and come upon us without our seeing how they sprout. Enough, early and late we meet the that, from which these all grow. If there were no that, there would be no this. If there were no this, there would be nothing for all these winds to play on. So far can we go, but how shall we understand what brings it about? One may well suppose the true governor to be behind it all. That such a power works I can believe. I cannot see his form. He acts but has no form. Tao is obscured. When men understand only one of a pair of opposites, or concentrate only on a partial aspect of being, then clear expression so becomes muddled by mere wordplay, affirming this one aspect and denying all the rest. Hence the wrangling of Confucians and Maoists. Each denies what the other affirms, and affirms what the other denies, which uses this struggle to set up no against yes and yes against no, better to abandon this hopeless effort and seek true light. There is nothing that cannot be seen from the standpoint of the not I, and there is nothing which cannot be seen from the standpoint of the I. If I begin by looking at anything from the viewpoint of the not I, then I do not really see it, since it is not I that sees it. If I begin from where I am and see it as I see it, then it may be also become possible for me to see it as another sees it. Hence the theory of reversal, that opposites produce each other, depend on each other, and complement each other. However this may be, life is followed by death, death is followed by life. The possible becomes impossible, the impossible becomes possible. Right turns into wrong, and wrong into right. The flow of life alters circumstances, and thus things themselves are altered in their turn. But disputants continue to affirm and deny the same things they have always affirmed and denied, ignoring the new aspects of reality presented by the changing conditions. The wise man, therefore, instead of trying to prove this or that point by logical disputation, sees all things in the light of direct intuition. He is not imprisoned by the limitations of the I, for the viewpoint of direct intuition is that of both I and not I. Hence he sees that on both sides of every argument there is both right and wrong. He also sees that in the end they are reducible to the same thing once they are related to the pivot of Tao. When the wise man grasps this pivot, he is in the center of the circle, and there he stands while yes and no pursue each other around the circumference. The pivot of Tao passes through the center where all affirmations and denials converge. He who grasps the pivot is at the still point from which all movements and oppositions can be seen in the right relationship. Hence he sees the limitless possibilities of both yes and no, abandoning all thoughts of imposing a limit or taking sides. He rests in direct intuition. Therefore I said, better to abandon disputation and seek the true light. 3 in the morning. when we wear out our minds stubbornly clinging to one partial view of things, refusing to see a deeper agreement between this and its complementary opposite, we have what is called 3 in the morning. What is this 3 in the morning? A monkey trainer went to his monkeys and told them, as regards your chestnuts, you are going to have 3 measures in the morning and 4 in the afternoon. At this they all became angry, so he said, all right, in that case I give you 4 in the morning, 3 in the afternoon. This time they were satisfied. The 2 arrangements were the same in that the number of chestnuts did not change, but in one case the animals were displeased and in the other they were satisfied. The keeper had been willing to change his personal arrangement in order to meet objective conditions. He lost nothing by it. The truly wise man, considering both sides of the question without partiality, sets them both in the light of Tao. This is called following 2 courses at once.
I was making so much money with DoorDash. I wanted to earn money in my free time, but I didn't want to go out and get a boring 9 to 5. That's when I found out how much my friend was making with DoorDash.
Now, this is called following 2 courses at once. Cutting up an ox. Prince Wen, who is cook, was cutting up an ox. Out went a hand, down went a shoulder. He planted a foot, he pressed with a knee. The ox fell apart with a whisper. The bright cleaver murmured like a gentle wind, rhythm timing like a sacred dance, like the mulberry grove, like ancient harmonies. Good work, the prince exclaimed. Your method is faultless. Method, said the cook, laying aside his cleaver. What I follow is Tao beyond all methods. When I first began to cut up oxen, I would see before me the whole ox, all in one mass. After 3 years, I no longer saw this mass. I saw the distinctions. But now I see nothing with my eye. My whole being apprehends. My senses are idle. The spirit, free to work without a plan, following its own instinct, guided by natural line. The secret opening, the hidden space, my cleaver finds its own way. I cut through no joint, chop no bone. A good cook needs a new chopper once a year. He cuts. A poor cook needs a new one every month. He hacks. I have used this same cleaver 19 years. It has cut up 1,000 oxen. Its edge is as keen as if newly sharpened. There are spaces in the joints. The blade is thin and keen. When this thinness finds that space, there is all the room you need. It goes like a breeze. Hence I have this cleaver 19 years as if newly sharpened. True, there are sometimes tough joints. Feel them coming. I slow down. I watch closely. Hold back. Barely move the blade. And whomp. The pot falls away, landing like a clod of earth. Then I withdraw the blade. I stand still and let the joy of the work sink in. I clean the blade and put it away. Prince Wan Huai said, this is it. My cook has shown me how I ought to live my own life. The man with 1 foot and the marsh pheasant. Kong Wen Xin saw a maimed official whose left foot had been cut off. Penalty in the political game. Kind of man, he cried, is this 1-footed oddity? How did he get that way? Shall we say man did this or heaven? Heaven, he said, this comes from heaven, not from man. When heaven gave this man life, it willed. He should stand out from others and sent him into politics to get himself distinguished. See, 1 foot. This man is different. The little marsh pheasant stopped 10 times to get a bite of grain. She must run 100 steps before she takes a sip of water, yet she does not ask to be kept in a hen run. Though she might have all she desired set before her, she would rather run and seek her own little living uncaged. The fasting of the heart, Yan Huai, the favorite disciple of Confucius, came to take leave of his master. Where are you going? Asked Confucius. I am going to Wai. And what for? I have heard that the Prince of Wai is a lusty, full-blooded fellow and is entirely self-willed. He takes no care of his people and refuses to see any fault in himself. He pays no attention to the fact that his subjects are dying right and left. Corpses lie all over the country like hay in a field. The people are desperate, but I have heard you, master, say that one should leave the state that is well governed and go to one which is in disorder. At the door of the physician there are plenty of sick people. I want to take this opportunity to put into practice what I have learned from you and see it if I can bring about some improvement additions there. Alas, said Confucius, you do not realize what you are doing. You will bring disaster upon yourself. Tao has no need of your eagerness, and you will only waste your energy in your misguided efforts. Wasting your energy, you will become confused and then anxious. Once anxious, you will no longer be a Alas, said Confucius, you do not realize what you are doing. You will bring disaster upon yourself. Tao has no need of your eagerness, and you will only waste your energy in your misguided efforts. Wasting your energy, you will become confused and then anxious. Once anxious, you will no longer be able to help yourself. The sages of old first sought Tao in themselves, then looked to see if there was anything in others that corresponded with Tao as they knew it. But if you do not have Tao yourself, what business have you spending your time in vain efforts to bring up corrupt politicians into the right path? However, I suppose you must have some basis for your hope of success. How do you propose to go about it? Yan Huai replied, I intend to present myself as a humble, disinterested man, seeking only to do what is right and nothing else. A completely simple and honest approach. Will this win his confidence? Certainly not. Confucius replied, this man is convinced that he alone is right. He may pretend outwardly to take an interest in an objective standard of justice, but do not be deceived by his expression. He is not accustomed to being opposed by anyone. His way is to reassure himself that he is right by trampling on other people. If he does this with mediocre men, he will all the more certainly do it to one who presents a threat by claiming to be a man of high qualities. He will cling stubbornly to his own way. He may pretend to be interested in your talk about what is objectively right, but interiorly he will not hear you, and there will be no change whatever. You will get nowhere with this. Yan Huai then said, very well, instead of directly opposing him, I will maintain my own standards interiorly, but outwardly I will appear to yield. I will appeal to the authority of tradition, to the examples of the past. He who is interiorly uncompromising is the son of heaven, just as much as my ruler. I will not rely on any teaching of my own, and will consequently have no concern about whether I am approved or not. Will eventually be recognized as perfectly disinterested and sincere. They will all come to appreciate my candor, and thus I will be an instrument of heaven in their midst. In this way, yielding in obedience to the prince as other men do, bowing, kneeling, prostrating myself as a servant should, I shall be accepted without blame. Then others will have confidence in me, and gradually they will make use of me, seeing that it is desire only to make myself